Greetings and salutations, exiles. This video is going to be a remake or a rediscussion on torches, and basically it's going to be why torches suck. And so, torches. So here we have. I'm going to craft a improvised torch, or an improvised torch, and they don't really abide by the same rules that other things abide by. So like if you're crafting, you have iron, steel, hardened steel, which is in that tier 3. So everything in the game is typically tiers 1, 2, and 3. They follow that, prescribed to that knowledge set. So all your building, sandstone, tier 1, hardened brick, tier 2, and then reinforced brick is tier 3. Torches, they're not really identified in that realm, and they're kind of sloppy in their implementation, and their functionality is actually lacking quite a bit. So here I have it as a light source, okay, and then if I unequip my axe, I can use it as a weapon in the left hand, but it it doesn't. Let me crouch. It doesn't. It only provides that light source, and as you get better torches, so like if you craft a regular torch, you get a more of a duration out of it, but you don't get a better light source, and there isn't any customization. At in the end game, you can get the Mother's Breath, which is an amazing torch. But so here we go. Let's do a little combat. So let's say I hit this guy. It doesn't apply a dot on this guy. It doesn't create, like, I should be able to. There should be a slow burn dot on him, a tiny little 2 HP click. I mean, they don't even have to actually apply the image of him being. They could just add a sinew look to it, kind of an ashy instead of blood. It's like an ashy kind of sinew look that would add a slow burn dot, like burn damage dot. And if I run into the water, I think it automatically go. Yeah, it does. So just to kind of show, the torch badly needs a rework. Also, yeah, there needs to be a slow. And if I hit him a couple times, it should build, that dot should stack like to 5. So it should add an extra 1 damage to the burn damage. And then if I hit him 5 times, it should stack the way that poison does. But obviously, with a tier 1 torch, the burn damage is going to be significantly reduced. And then if I have a tier 2 torch, the burn damage is doubled. And if I have a tier 3 torch, like the Mother's Breath, the burn damage is insane. And they don't need to actually add like a fire, him burning, because that would take a lot of resources. But if they just replace the blood with kind of a black sinew look, an ashy look, kind of a black, you could see the difference, and it would give that immersion aspect, and it would kind of be realistic, and it would be a real good early game. Also, the torches badly need the ability to be tossed on the ground. So like usually your control key is your throw with throwing axes, right? So if I see, and it's actually the same thing as the combat with the torch. So they've just defaulted both of those functionalities as the same. But if I could hit control and actually toss this on the ground, it could be a marker. So if I'm doing a raid, or if I want to, you know, look at that. That's impressive. Somebody built the tower. That's actually pretty cool. So yeah, and so you need to add an additional functionality to where you can throw it on the ground and you can leave a marker. So you're like, hey, your body's here, buddy. Or partner. Your buddy's right here. And he's like, well, I don't see it. And you're like, oh no, it's right here in the bushes. And you just throw the torch on it. And he's like, oh, and he just runs over to the torch. And he's like, oh, there it is, like half undermeshed into the ground. And it just helps with that new player experience, and it helps with the early game confusion that might keep a player to where it's not such a hard time integrating into the game. It's easier for them to transition and segue and actually enjoy the experience early game, and they stick around longer. Okay, and then finally, torches need to have a they need to be tied into the gas orbs and the gaseous orbs. I'm sorry, grease orbs and gaseous orbs. So if I throw a grease orb on this building, well, that'd be a bad example. Let's say I throw a a gas I'm sorry, a tar orb on this bush, and then I throw my torch on it. It should catch on fire, and then it should create ash. And I know this is a little bit more depth, and this is a significant um, rework on this aspect of it, this last piece. And if I have a gaseous orb and I throw it and it creates that cloud, if I throw my torch in it, it should blow up. And these mechanics already exist in the game, but it adds another early game PvP, kind of teaches players like a little bit more complexity. And it's one of those things that profoundly changes the game and cascades in a positive way, because it's just a lot more immersion, a lot more functionality, a lot more things you can do with assets that already exist across the board. And this is something that I've actually been working on and fleshing out the idea for far over a year. And it's the torch badly needs a rework, because right now it's just a kind of a pathetic light source, and it's badly neglected. So just to recap, they need to really flesh out the torches and what tier they fall into, and the requirements to get them. Like, if you make a tier 3 torch, it needs to come from either an improved cauldron or an improved blacksmithing bench or an improved carpenter bench. It can be either one of the three. I mean, that's up to them to decide, but it needs to come from a also, there needs to be torches in the game, like say in the mounds. There needs to be torches in there that you can loot off the walls. That becomes the light source. So if somebody pulls all the torches off the walls, that room is completely dark until the next reset. And that becomes another element of immersion, because if there's no light source in there, that means somebody's been through there recently. And it can be on a 45-minute timer, it can be a 24-hour timer, it doesn't matter. But some of those things need to be a little bit more immersive, to where they actually have them embedded in different places in the game, like a tier 2 equivalent torch that has a 2-hour burn time. And that's just that. I know it sounds simple, but those fundamental core base changes, I'm going to say again, would be profound and really improve the overall player experience, and increase. It would kind of be one of those things that promote the population in ways that easier to find bodies, easier to stick up with play and keep up with players. People aren't as lost or confused early game. Kind of one of those like pro tips. As always, thanks for watching.